You clicked on this video because you already know something isn't quite right. Maybe your numbers have been creeping up. Maybe your doctor mentioned nerve damage, or your feet have been tingling at night, or you've been feeling weaker than you used to. Maybe you're already managing diabetes and doing everything you've been told, and yet something still feels off. I want you to know, I've been there, and I want to spend the next few minutes with you, because what I'm about to share changed everything for me and for so many people in this community. This video is about 3 specific foods, not supplements, not prescriptions, not a complicated protocol that costs a fortune. Just 3 everyday foods that have something remarkable in common. They actively protect the parts of your body that diabetes quietly attacks. Your nerves, your muscles, your kidneys, your eyes. The damage from high blood sugar doesn't announce itself. It builds slowly, silently, over months and years. But here's what most people never hear. Certain foods don't just slow that damage down. In some cases, they can help reverse it. And by the time this video ends, you'll know exactly which ones and exactly how to use them. Now, before I go further, I want to tell you something that most people in this space never talk about. There is a direct biological reason why these 3 foods work together as a system, not just individually. That reason has to do with how diabetes attacks your body through multiple pathways at once. Inflammation, nerve degradation, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, and vascular damage, all happening simultaneously. We're going to connect all of those dots today, and when you see the full picture, I think you're going to feel something you maybe haven't felt in a while. Genuine hope, grounded in real science. I've spent years reading through clinical research, nutritional biochemistry, and real-world case outcomes from patients just like you. I've synthesized hundreds of studies so you don't have to. I know what the headlines say, and I know what the fine print actually shows. And I can tell you with confidence, the 3 foods in this video are among the most consistently supported, most overlooked, and most powerful tools available to someone managing diabetes after 60. Let's make sure you walk away from this video with something you can actually use. Before we dive in, if you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds right now. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and give this a thumbs up. It genuinely helps more people like you find this content. And drop a comment below. Tell me what country you're watching from. I'd love to know where our community is tuning in from around the world. Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I've put something together for you. It's called the Glucose Paradox. It's a free guide on blood sugar and diabetes, and you can grab it for free through the link in the description. I'm telling you this now because I want you to finish this video with a concrete tool in your hands. To get it right away, just click the link in the description, head over to my site, and drop your email. You'll receive the guide in your inbox a few minutes later. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the video. Let's start with something that might surprise you. The way most people think about managing diabetes focuses almost entirely on what to avoid. Avoid sugar, avoid carbs, avoid this, don't eat that. And while there's truth in some of that guidance, it leaves out something absolutely critical. The foods you need to be actively eating every single day to protect and repair the damage that's already been done. Because here's what diabetes does that no one explains clearly enough. It doesn't just raise your blood sugar. It creates a cascade of damage throughout your entire body. Damage that affects how your nerves communicate, how your muscles hold together, how your kidneys filter your blood, and how your eyes maintain their sight. High blood sugar generates oxidative stress, which means your cells are essentially being corroded from the inside. It triggers chronic low-grade inflammation, which quietly stiffens your arteries and degrades your nerve sheaths. It depletes key minerals, magnesium, zinc, chromium, that your insulin system absolutely depends on. And it accelerates a process called sarcopenia, which is the progressive loss of muscle mass that leaves older adults weaker, less stable, and more vulnerable to falls and injury. Understanding this web of damage is the first step, because when you understand what's happening, you understand why the right foods aren't a nice to have. They're a biological necessity. The first food is one you probably already have in your refrigerator. Whole eggs, not just the whites, the whole egg, yolk included. I know some of you have been told to avoid egg yolks for years, and I understand why. The old thinking was about cholesterol, but the research has moved well past that, and what we now know about eggs, especially for people managing diabetes, is genuinely remarkable. Let's start with what happens to your muscles when you have diabetes. The condition accelerates something called sarcopenia, the age-related loss of skeletal muscle mass. For someone over 60 who already faces some degree of natural muscle decline, diabetes essentially speeds that process up dramatically. This matters enormously, because muscle is not just about strength. Muscle is your body's primary glucose disposal site. The more lean muscle mass you have, the more efficiently your cells can pull glucose out of the bloodstream and use it for energy. When you lose muscle, your blood sugar control gets worse, not just because you feel weaker, but because the biological machinery that manages glucose is literally shrinking. Whole eggs, with their complete amino acid profile, are one of the most effective whole food tools for preserving and rebuilding that muscle. 2 to 3 eggs per day provides your body with high-quality protein that is readily used by aging muscle tissue in a way that plant proteins and even many animal proteins simply can't match. But the yolk is where the real story gets interesting. Inside that golden center is a nutrient called choline. Most people have never heard of it, and yet it may be one of the most important compounds for someone experiencing diabetic neuropathy, the nerve damage that causes burning, tingling, numbness, or pain in the feet and hands. Here's why. Your nerves are wrapped in a protective sheath called myelin. Think of myelin the way you'd think of the rubber coating on an electrical wire. When that coating is intact, signals travel cleanly and efficiently. When it degrades, which happens under the chronic oxidative stress of high blood sugar, the signals start to misfire. That's where the burning and tingling come from. That's the nerve trying to communicate through damaged insulation. Choline is a foundational building block for phosphatidylcholine, one of the core lipids your body uses to repair and regenerate myelin. Without adequate choline, that repair process stalls. With it, your nervous system has the raw material it needs to work on rebuilding what diabetes has damaged. There's more. The egg yolk also contains 2 powerful antioxidants, lutein and zeaxanthin. These carotenoids accumulate specifically in the macula of the eye, the central area of your retina responsible for sharp, detailed vision. Diabetic retinopathy is one of the leading causes of blindness in adults over 60, and it happens because high blood sugar damages the tiny blood vessels inside the eye. Lutein and zeaxanthin act as a kind of biological sunscreen and antioxidant shield for those delicate retinal cells, reducing the oxidative damage that drives retinopathy forward. When you eat 2 to 3 whole eggs a day, boiled, poached, or scrambled in a healthy fat, you're not just getting protein, you're feeding your nerves, your eyes, and your muscles all at once. The second food takes us deeper into a system that most people managing diabetes rarely think about: the connection between systemic inflammation and every single complication of the disease. That system is where nuts come in, specifically walnuts, almonds, and pistachios. Chronic low-grade inflammation is arguably the most destructive force in diabetic health. It doesn't feel like inflammation in the way an injured knee feels inflamed. It's quiet. It runs in the background, year after year, quietly narrowing your blood vessels, degrading your kidney filters, attacking your nerve tissue, and increasing your risk of heart attack and stroke. One of the primary drivers of that inflammation is an imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in the modern diet. Most people eating a standard American diet consume far too many omega-6, found in processed oils and packaged foods, and far too few omega-3s. Walnuts are one of the richest plant-based sources of alpha-linolenic acid, the omega-3 precursor your body uses to begin producing its own anti-inflammatory compounds. When you shift that ratio, you begin to pull down the inflammatory fire that's been burning through your vascular system and nerve tissue. But the story of nuts goes well beyond omega-3s. Here is where the systemic connection becomes truly striking. Magnesium. Studies consistently show that people with type 2 diabetes have significantly lower levels of magnesium than people without the condition, and the worse the blood sugar control, the lower the magnesium tends to be. Why? Because every time your blood sugar spikes and your kidneys work to clear the excess glucose from your bloodstream, they also flush out magnesium. Over time, this creates a chronic deficiency that most people and many doctors don't even check for. And the consequences of magnesium deficiency in a diabetic body are profound. Magnesium is required for more than 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including the activation of insulin receptors on cell surfaces. Without adequate magnesium, your cells become less responsive to insulin, meaning your insulin resistance worsens, which raises blood sugar, which causes more magnesium loss. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Almonds and cashews are among the highest magnesium foods available, and a single handful, about 30 to 40 grams, can provide a meaningful contribution toward the 400 milligrams most adults need daily. Then there's the kidney connection. The small filtering structures in your kidneys, the nephrons, are exquisitely sensitive to both high blood sugar and high blood pressure. Diabetic nephropathy progresses quietly, often without symptoms, until a substantial portion of kidney function is already lost. What the research on nut consumption shows consistently is a reduction in multiple cardiovascular and metabolic risk factors, including blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and systemic inflammation, that are directly involved in that progressive kidney damage. A daily handful of unsalted, naturally prepared nuts is one of the lowest effort, highest impact habits you can build into your routine. The key word is natural. Avoid the heavily salted, oil-roasted varieties. Raw or dry roasted, and you get everything these foods have to offer without the sodium burden that can work against blood pressure and kidney health. The third food is one that often gets overlooked because it seems too small to matter. Seeds. Specifically, flax seeds, chia seeds, and pumpkin seeds. And yet, gram for gram, these tiny foods are among the most nutrient-dense things you can put in your body. And they address diabetes-related damage through mechanisms that no other food group does quite as effectively. Let's start with blood sugar itself. One of the most damaging moments in the diabetic day is the post-meal glucose spike, the rapid rise in blood sugar that happens in the hour or two after eating. These spikes are not just numbers on a meter. Each spike is a wave of oxidative stress hitting your blood vessels, your nerve tissue, and your kidney filters. Over time, these repeated waves cause cumulative damage that adds up to the complications people fear most. Flax seeds and chia seeds are exceptionally rich in a type of soluble fiber called mucilage. When this fiber contacts water, either in a glass or in your stomach, it forms a thick gel-like substance. That gel coats the lining of your digestive tract and physically slows the absorption of glucose from any food you eat. The result is a dramatically flattened post-meal blood sugar curve. The spike still happens, but it happens more slowly and more modestly. And for people managing diabetes, that difference is the difference between damage and protection, repeated 3 times a day, every single day. Now there's another layer to this story that connects directly to the nerve and vascular damage we've been talking about. Flax seeds are also rich in lignans, plant compounds with powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that have been shown in clinical research to reduce markers of systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. When you combine that anti-inflammatory action with the glucose-flattening effect of the fiber, you're addressing 2 of the major drivers of diabetic complications at the same time. Pumpkin seeds occupy a slightly different but equally important role. They are one of the richest dietary sources of zinc, a mineral that is absolutely essential for insulin synthesis and secretion from the pancreatic beta cells. Your pancreas needs zinc to produce functional insulin. People with diabetes consistently show lower serum zinc levels, partly because of the same flushing mechanism we discussed with magnesium. Beyond insulin production, zinc is a cornerstone of immune function, and people with diabetes are significantly more vulnerable to infections, slow wound healing, and immune dysregulation. A daily tablespoon or 2 of pumpkin seeds addresses that deficit in a direct and elegant way. One practical note about seeds: flax seeds must be ground. Whole flax seeds pass through your digestive system largely intact, and you miss most of their nutritional benefit. Buy them whole and grind them yourself in a small coffee grinder, or buy pre-ground flaxseed meal and keep it in the refrigerator to prevent it from going rancid. Chia seeds, by contrast, can be eaten whole. Their outer hull breaks down easily in liquid. Add them to water, to yogurt, to oatmeal, or blend them into a smoothie. 1 to 2 tablespoons of mixed seeds per day is all it takes to start seeing the benefits. Now let's bring all 3 of these foods together, because the most important thing I want you to understand is that they don't just work in parallel, they work as an interconnected system. Eggs provide choline to rebuild nerve sheaths, and the protein to preserve the muscle mass that controls blood sugar. Nuts provide magnesium to restore insulin sensitivity, omega-3s to reduce the inflammation that destroys blood vessels, and minerals that protect kidney function. Seeds provide the soluble fiber that blunts post-meal glucose spikes, the lignans that fight oxidative damage, and the zinc that supports insulin production and immune health. Together, they address every major pathway through which diabetes damages the body. And the time frame matters. The people who have seen the most meaningful improvements, reduced neuropathic pain, better muscle strength, more stable energy levels, improved kidney markers, are those who committed to these foods consistently, every day for at least 90 days. Not 90 days of perfection, just 90 days of consistency. Because that's how long it takes for the biological changes to accumulate to a point where you start to feel them. I want you to think about your body, not as a collection of separate systems, not your eyes over here, your nerves over there, your kidneys somewhere else, but as one integrated network where everything talks to everything else. When inflammation goes down, your blood vessels work better, which means your kidneys get cleaner blood, which means your nerve tissue gets better circulation, which means the tingling in your feet becomes less frequent, which means you sleep better, which means your cortisol levels drop, which helps your blood sugar. This is the chain. This is why food matters so profoundly, not just as fuel, but as information your body uses to decide how to function. And the 3 foods in this video are, in a very real sense, instructions that tell your body to protect itself. There is nothing passive about the approach I've described today. You don't have to wait for a new medication or a clinical trial. You don't have to feel like you're just managing decline. Starting today, you can give your nervous system the choline it needs. You can give your insulin receptors the magnesium they've been missing. You can give your blood sugar the fiber it needs to stay stable after every meal. These are small, concrete, daily acts, and their effects compound over time in ways that are quietly extraordinary. And hey, if you made it all the way here, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button to let me know this was worth your time. And leave a comment below. Tell me what country you're watching from. Seriously, I read every single one, and it means a lot to see how far this community reaches. You know what the problem is with diabetes and high blood sugar? Most people find out way too late, and by the time they do, they have no idea where to even start. That's why I decided to create a free guide. It's called the Glucose Paradox, and inside, you'll find everything you wish you'd known sooner. I'll explain how blood sugar actually works, and why your body sometimes reacts the exact opposite way you'd expect. That's why it's called a paradox. I've also included concrete habits you can start changing right now, even if you know zero about nutrition or medicine. It's free. You can download it in a second, and it might be the single most useful thing you do for your health today. Just click the link in the description to head to the site, drop your email, and get the guide sent straight to you. Don't put this off.